The IMSEC function within Excel allows us to calculate a secant of a complex number. Now we simply write =IMSEC, we open the parenthesis, and as the only argument we supply the complex number. In column A I have my complex number. You can see it exists out of a real and an imaginary part. The part with the I is the imaginary part. Now this could also be written with a J, which is often done in electrical engineering. Also, do keep in mind that complex numbers within Excel are considered to be text or strings and not actual numbers. Okay, I close my parentheses, press enter, and pull this formula down. And there we have it. That's the secant of a complex number that we are getting. Now, when working with real numbers, the secant is equal to the inverse of the cosine function. So if you take 1 divided by the cosine of a number, that should be equal to the secant of that number. Now, does this relationship also hold true when working with complex numbers? Let's give it a try. So the first thing we are going to need is to take a cosine of a complex number. Within Excel, we can do this with the imcos function. Now, the imcos function works very similarly to the imsec function. We only need to provide one argument, which is the complex number. And so I close my parentheses, and there we have the cosine of our complex number. Now we need to take the inverse of this, meaning 1 divided by this cosine function. Now you might be tempted to simply put 1 divided by this cosine, and if we now press enter, we get a value error. The reason for this is that within Excel, complex numbers are not considered numbers, they are considered text. And as such, we cannot use regular operators such as plus, minus, division, and multiplication with them. If we want to do those kinds of operations, we need to use special Excel functions. In this case, we need to use the imdiv function, which allows us to perform a division using complex numbers. Now, in our case, we are only dealing with one complex number. The other one, the 1, is a real number. But even in that case, we still need to use the imdiv function. So the first argument is the denominator to our division, which in our case is 1. And then the second argument is the denominator, which is the result of the cosine function, which will equal a complex number. So I close the parentheses, press enter, and now I will be pulling this downwards. And then it's pretty obvious that this does indeed give us the same result. So yes, the relationship where the secant is equal to the inverse of the cosine also holds true when working with complex numbers. So whenever you need to calculate the secant of a complex number, you can use the imsec function, supply to it a complex number, and out comes the secant of that number. Thanks for subscribing, and leaving an optional tip, consider watching this video next.